Fictional Journeys, Chapter 8, A Dark Look into the Future. Early in December 1941, a friend begged Helen to go with her to see a fortune teller. Like most Jews living in Amsterdam, the friend was afraid and upset. Although Helen did not believe in predicting fortunes, she went along to calm the girl's nerves. I had no intention of seeing the fortune teller myself, but when we arrived, the woman asked me to follow her into an empty room. Immediately after sitting down, she fell into a trance. Her first words were that she was sorry, but her news for me was not happy. She saw me as a widow. I just couldn't take this woman seriously and laughed off her prediction. Then she asked if I knew a man by the name of Max. She said he would bring great changes into our lives. Since I knew of no such person, I dismissed this crazy idea too. She ended by saying that during the next week, death would come to my family and that the police would be involved. This was ridiculous. I got up, went into the waiting room where my friend was sitting, and we left. Helen and her friend, along with 1 million of other Jews in Nazi Europe, had good reason to be afraid and upset. On December 7th, Hitler issued a new order called the Night and Fog Decree. This order gave the SS the power to eliminate people who were supposedly endangering German security. Just how these people were to be eliminated was not made clear. They were to disappear into the night and fog. Even their closest friends and family would have no idea what happened to them. When she got home from the fortune tellers, Helen decided not to tell Siegfried about her adventure. He would be angry with her for having gone, and besides, she knew the woman's predictions were crazy, but there was one point she did want to check. My curiosity being strong, I asked Siegfried if he knew someone named Max. "How do you know this name?" he demanded of me anxiously. He seemed extremely bothered that I had mentioned the name. Reluctantly, I related my conversation with the fortune teller. Siegfried, obviously upset, then told me what had happened to him. Earlier that day, a man from the German government had come into Siegfried's place of business. He announced that since the company was owned and run by Jews, he had orders to take it over. Not only was he taking control, he was firing all Jewish employees. The man's name was Max. The fortune teller had been right. As the news tightened, the Nazis now cracked down on Jewish businesses in Holland the way they had in Germany. Siegfried lost his job, and with it, the prospect of ever finding another in Nazi-occupied Holland. Hopelessness overcame him as he wondered how he would support his family. Not only was there Helen and Doris, his mother now lived with them. She had moved in the previous winter when her husband died. Although Mrs. Walfarth was happy to be with her family, and particularly with her grandchild, the events in Holland frightened her greatly. Hans, Siegfried's brother who lived in the United States, was trying to get visas for his mother and other family members to go to Cuba. But as Mrs. Walfarth waited and thought about starting over again in an unknown land, she became increasingly depressed. One morning, a few days after Siegfried lost his job, my mother-in-law could not be aroused from her sleep. Immediately, we took Doris to a neighbor's. While waiting for the doctor, we found an empty bottle of sleeping pills and a letter. Although she was only 63, she had decided she was too old to start life in a new country. The money for her visa and trip to Cuba could be better used by us, she wrote. She didn't want to cause any complications. She died without regaining consciousness and was buried on December 7th, 1941, the day that destroyed all hope for any of us leaving Europe. My mother-in-law's suicide, the questioning that followed by the local police, and her funeral were some of the most crushing events of my life. But at least she had chosen her own death. She did not have to wait for her ride on the cattle car to be humiliated or robbed of her dignity on her way to the gas chamber. The fortune teller had been right again. The day of Siegfried's mother's funeral, another event occurred that would change world history. Early that Sunday morning, Japan launched a surprise air attack on the U.S. naval fleet at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. 4 huge battleships were destroyed, and 2,334 American servicemen were killed. Until now, the United States had stayed out of the World War II, but the attack on Pearl Harbor ended America's neutrality. In a radio speech to the nation that afternoon, President Franklin D. Roosevelt called December 7th a day that will live in infamy. The next morning, he asked the U.S. Congress to declare war against the Axis powers, Japan, Germany, and Italy. The United States was not alone. Britain, Canada, New Zealand, and the Netherlands, and a host of other countries joined America in declaring war against Japan. In the fatherland, Germany received the news casually. They saw America's entry into World War II as no great threat. Hitler and his advisors thought the United States was too weak to take on both Japan and Germany. America would have its hands full fighting Japan, he predicted. This turned out to be a major miscalculation. In Holland, as in all other occupied countries of Europe, the German reaction to Pearl Harbor brought a new wave of hatred against the Jews. Our telephones were removed, we could not leave our houses between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m., and the use of public transportation was forbidden. Our bicycles, radios, and all valuables had to be delivered to German agencies. Our money was deposited in a special bank with a typically Jewish name. Additionally, every Jew 6 years and older had to wear the yellow star, firmly sewn to each piece of outer clothing. This new wave of hatred meant more and more Jews were murdered each day. December 8th, in a forest near Riga, the capital of what is now Latvia, the SS kill 1,500 sick and elderly Jews from the Riga ghetto. Some are shot, others are gassed in the backs of mobile vans specially equipped for killing. The same day as Chełmno, one of the new extermination camps in Poland, began its first mass killings. December 9th, 800 more Jews from Riga are taken to the forest to be gassed. So far, 25,000 Jews from Riga have been murdered. There will be more. December 10th, 1,000 Jews from a work camp in Poland are sent to Chełmno. In a forest near the camp, the SS herds them into vans and kills them. Also that day, 350 Jews are taken to the Sava River in Yugoslavia and brutally murdered. These 3 days were not special. They were typical. In other occupied countries of the Reich, the scene was similar. Day after day after day, the killings continued, planned and carried out with the utmost efficiency. The Nazis had a passion for organization, and they carried out the final solution exactly according to plan. Masterminding the exterminations was Obersturmbannführer Adolf Eichmann, a lieutenant colonel in the SS. On January 20th, 1942, he and other top Nazis met in the Berlin suburb of Wannsee to discuss the final solution in detail. Here, top SS leaders unveiled a plan for exterminating Jews and other undesirables in quantities that staggered the human mind. So barbaric was the plan that it was never made public. It was kept highly secret, no written record ever being made. What the Nazis were planning was genocide. Eichmann took notes during the conference, but never once did the words kill, murder, or exterminate appear on the paper. The Nazis were careful to leave no evidence of their plan. Instead, Eichmann referred to the emigration or evacuation of the Jews. Europe was to be combed from west to east to round up Jews and evacuate them group by group into transit ghettos to be transported from there farther to the east. In straight talk, this was the Nazis' plan for deporting the Jews to extermination camps in Poland where they would be murdered. Naturally, these top-secret plans were unknown to the Jews. Rumors circulated wildly, but even as they were being deported, few people had any idea where they were going. Only much later did Helen and the others learn the truth. In the large Nazi-occupied countries of Europe, The Jewish population was herded to ghettos in each capital city. Those not sent to ghettos were shipped to a transit camp elsewhere in the country. Here they were shelved until they could be shipped to the newly created extermination camps in Poland. This procedure simplified the final deportation to the east, Eichmann's emigration plan. Foreigners, such as we were in Holland, were the first to be deported. By July 1942, the extermination camps were ready to receive victims. The trains, made up mostly of freight cars, ran regularly every day, each with at least 1,000 Jews, oftentimes more. The deportees did not know where they were going or what to expect. Names like Auschwitz, Sobibor, Treblinka, Bergen-Belsen, Chelmno, and Theresienstadt were completely unknown to us at the time. Eichmann was the man in charge of running this vast network of death trains. After the war, he was hunted by Israeli agents for his role in the final solution. At last, in 1960, they discovered him in Argentina, where he had been hiding for 14 years. He was taken to Israel to stand trial. There, he calmly explained his role in the final solution. At that time, I obeyed my orders without thinking. I just did as I was told. That's where I found my fulfillment. It made no difference to me what the orders were. For his part in the Holocaust, Eichmann was found guilty and executed in 1962. He declared that he would go to his grave happy in the knowledge that he had helped kill 6 million Jews.